The present purpose is to illustrate how to work with Septuagintal tools when doing an analysis of the external evidence to text variants. In this case, we're focused on Deuteronomy 32:8. Now, in this case, there's two different Septuagintal editions that are widely available. The Ralph's edition has, and here's translation from Brenton, both of these available online. When the Most High divided up the nations, that is, this tradition of dividing them up with languages in Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel, he did so according to the number of the angels of God, angelon theou. And the eclectic critical edition, the Göttingen edition, has a different rating here, according to the number of huion theou, according to the number of the divine sons. So when we go to the library, we can access the Göttingen Septuagint, and this is worthwhile in anything kind of important to do so. And the main text of this critical edition, it's an eclectic, critically reconstructed text. And so it's one of the most reliable versions we have at the present. And this line underneath the main critically reconstructed text is the sources of the eclectic text above. And then most of the page in this case is dominated by two apparatuses. A very long upper apparatus which offers variants to the text above, and then a lower apparatus offering variants found in marginal readings and also in the Hexlapla readings. So we're going to focus on the upper apparatus materials that are related to this text issue with huion theou, sons of God, in Deuteronomy 32:8. Now, working with this apparatus can be quite daunting at first, since it's a lot of Septuagintal witnesses and the use of Latin abbreviations and the very concise work that's done here in collating all of that. What's helpful, though, is there is an English translation of the Septuagintal volumes available online, which helps a lot. Now, the different notes are separated both by these vertical lines, and then sort of sub-notes are separated by the use of these brackets. So here we'll take focus on huion, and notice all of the witnesses listed thereafter. So here we have, just to put it in straightforward English, which I recommend, this term sons. Find this in the text of, very important, number 848. This is a 1st century BCE, and then there's various other witnesses listed out. Then the next note, we have angels, and here's witnesses to it. And here we see, this is to the reading angels of God. Most witnesses agree with Ralph's, yet compare the Qumran reading, and that is 4Q Dut J. And this appears to be the parent reading of the text and the reading sons of God in Qumran. So specifically then, sons of God at Qumran, that appears to be the parent reading of this reading as well. And within parentheses here, there's a singular, angel, and a few witnesses to it. That is, a few witnesses in the Septuagintal tradition have angel of God. And kind of the rest of the note has some lesser witnesses, that is, angels of his. We find reference to one of the church fathers, or to um, sons of Israel and various witnesses to that. It's all spelled out using the abbreviation for sons of Israel. And then, of course, there's this downward arrow, and this means that there's also some notes in the marginal readings to the Septuagintal tradition, and one can consult the lower apparatus for that. And we're just going to leave that to the side for the purpose of our present work. Also worth noting is Vaticanus with sort of variant readings is available online. This is the so-called Cambridge Septuagint, and since it's widely accessible, it's worth noting here, even though it's not at the level of the critical eclectic Göttingen edition. So the main text here is reproduced from Vaticanus, and then of course there's two kind of extensive apparatuses below, and the upper apparatus again gives us the main variant readings over and against Vaticanus. And so in a very general way, this can help the student pretty quickly identify some of the variants in the Septuagintal tradition. So here we have produced Deuteronomy 32:8 from Vaticanus in the text, and also both the upper and lower apparatuses associated with this particular variant. And so in this case where Vaticanus reads, Angelon Theou, the delegates of God, or the angels of God. And again, there's a complicated apparatus, and one should consult the card, which offers abbreviation usually in the beginning or end of these volumes that you'll find in the library if you have it. Otherwise, need to look there when looking at this online. But the short of it is, again, these notes are divided by vertical lines, is we have some alternates to Vaticanus, angels of God, again, marking the singular or sons of Israel, and some of the witnesses to that, or the gloss for sons of Israel. So this is at least helpful when the critical edition, the eclectic critical edition Göttingen is not available. This is at least available to give some of the variants when we do our work. And very briefly, just to compare these critical editions to the widely available Ralph's edition, which is available online, but also pretty inexpensive volumes. Here's the main text, and then a very short apparatus at the bottom showing just a few of the variations. And so the text mainly follows one of the main witnesses, whatever the editor thought was the best in that case, to the Septuagint. And in Ralph's, the main text in Deuteronomy 32:8 is Angelon Theou, the angels or delegates of God. There is one textual note to a variant, but not related to what we're looking at, but to a different part of this verse. One of the things that's helpful is being able to back translate some of the notes, the variants, from Greek to Hebrew. And so there's a recent tool that's very convenient for this. Meraka has put together this Greek and Hebrew two-way index to the Septuagint. And so part of this book has sort of a collation of all of the Greek entries, and we'll look at the one on Angelos here. Then the other part of the book has all the Hebrew word entries running back to Greek. So here we take a look at the entry to Angelos, and there's a list of all the various terms that are thought to relate to this. And so what we're interested in is the fifth entry, and this would include Bain, which is thought to, Angelos is thought to translate that 4 times, and Ben Elohim, which is thought to translate that 1 time. And you can see all the other terms used. And we turn to the other part of the index and see the word Ben and all of the terms that the Septuagintal translators used to translate it. And we're interested in the entry that relates to angelos. And so the term angelos then can be seen to be translated into Ben or Ben Elohim. Yet what's of some interest in this case is Maraka has put this in brackets. So this indicates that he doubts that the term angelos was used to translate the word Ben or Ben Elohim. So we have to do a little bit of thinking, but it seems what he has in mind is that perhaps the original Septuagintal translation was huios, and then later the tradition glossed from huios into angelos in these cases. Seems to be what how I would deduce what the editor is here saying. We also want to briefly consider the concordance on the Septuagint edited by Redpath and Hatch. Since this is available online, this is a very useful tool and offers a number of features that can help us in our assessment of the external evidence. So here we're going to focus on the entry for angelos, which you can see runs at the bottom of the middle column and on down the right-hand column of the page. So at the beginning of the entry, there's the term listed, angelos. Then there's a series of Hebrew terms which angelos is used to gloss, according to the editors. And so we're interested in the fifth, and it's subdivided between Ben and Ben Elohim. And so this number, 5 and 5a and b, is used here. And as we look through the list of uses, we find the number 5a, and this helps us identify what the editor has in mind. So the suggestion, for example, in Genesis chapter 6 is that when we read here, hoi angeloi tu theu, the angels of God, the original would have been Ben Elohim, or Ben in the case of angel itself. And so there is a text variant, and this is from the 16 edition. And again, if we look at Job 1:6 or 2:1, there we see again, hoi angeloi tu theu, the angels of God are thought to translate the sons of God. And finally, the case that we're interested in is Deuteronomy 32:8. We also notice that Deuteronomy 32:43, similar situation. And here the A stands for Alexandrius, and the B stands for Vaticanus. These both bear witness to angelon theu, the angels of the number according to the angels of God. So because the concordance is so widely available, has several uses, not only to help with how the Septuagintal translators may have glossed the Hebrew, but also to provide it in a very accessible way the other comparative examples from the Hebrew Bible and where they fit, all easily indexed based upon this numbering system. So it's recommended for helpful use, even though we always have to cross-check our results with newer materials. One further tool that's useful to compare at the moment is Weaver's commentary on the Septuagintal text in the Pentateuch. Here we're looking at the volume of notes on the Greek text of Deuteronomy. His note on Deuteronomy 32:8 begins, "It is not surprising that the Septuagintal translation almost unanimously changed sons to angels, but," again, the 1st century BCE witness, 848, does read sons, and the reading is assured. Then he goes on from there, and the rest of the note gets to explaining the rationale for the variations within the Septuagintal translation tradition. The change to angels was clearly a later attempt to avoid any notion of lesser deities in favor of God's messengers. Admittedly, the notion of guardian angels, even of peoples, did become widespread. So this is especially helpful because this is what we need to do as we assess our investigation of the external evidence, is get at the rationale and the reasoning why the changes occurred. Because it's not an accident, but rather an intentional change. And it's not to corrupt the text, but the ancient scribes are improving the text. There's a bit of irony here, but they're improving the text to make the biblical text more theologically accurate with their sensibilities. Here, pushing against this idea of lesser deities. Take a moment to briefly summarize our assessment of the external evidence in the case of the Septuagintal witness to the text. And so the critical edition, which offers the earliest, is according to the number of the sons of God in Deuteronomy 32:8. And so this points toward a parent text or a forlage of B'nai Elohim, so that would be the text from which the original Septuagintal translation came. Now, within the Septuagintal tradition itself, though, this was later adjusted by the later witnesses that we find to according to the number of Angelon Theou, that is, according to the number of the angels of God. And this is presumably a early euphemistic gloss of sons of God to sort of soften the blow of these other beings that the Lord is using to divide up the nations.